going. Hey guys. Apparently my turn because I was looking at the record button.
It's never my turn.
I'm teasing. Good afternoon. It's so good to see you guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Good. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Girls.
Yes.
And boys, gentlemen.
No, I'm talking to you two.
Oh.
Yeah. Everybody else, I would just say guys.
Right.
Yeah.
We're inclusive. We don't care what you identify as.
I don't care.
Nope. Okay, let's move on to let's answer some questions about if somebody was looking for a used machine, what would you recommend that you watch out for or to look for? Sound good?
Yep. And it can go not just long arms, but domestic machines, embroidery machines.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
all machines,
all machines, any machines, printers, anything used. Yeah, but
cars, everything.
Yeah, crickets.
Anything, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, I think you want to test drive it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Being able to see it up and actually moving is a good thing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Unless it's like we bought a used milling shoe machine that looks like it's an old Singer, looks like a long arm, and we knew it wasn't working.
Right.
Right.
I mean, also read the ad and see what they're saying. If they're saying non-operational, you know it going into it. But if they're saying it's working, I want to make sure it's working.
Mm-hmm.
And how well it's working or how well it's not working. Or, if there's, yeah.
And there's also good to find out why are they selling? Did they upgrade? Did they not use it? Most likely in our world, unfortunately, I see a lot of things of the user passed away or things like that too. And the family's trying to sell it. So in some respects, they might not even know a lot about it either.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that's not necessarily something to, make you not want to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means you might want to check it out a little bit more. If you know more than they do about the machine, then it's up to you to make sure it's doing what you want it to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can ask for records. When was it serviced? How often was it serviced? Things like that. Yeah. Now, APQS doesn't necessarily have service records per and some dealers don't necessarily, like we work on Janome and Juki's, we don't necessarily tie into a central log saying, hey, this machine was serviced on this date at this store. So some of that can be vague as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't hurt. At least I know with APQS, it's got to be like that with some other manufacturers as well. You can call APQS if you have the serial number and ask about that machine. If they know something about it, they'll tell you, like, oh yeah, we had it here 4 years ago servicing it or whatever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a good idea to talk to a dealer or to talk to the manufacturer directly and see if parts are still available for that machine.
Right. That's the other thing. We tell on our Janomes, when they get ready to retire a machine, they have an algorithm that they try to save, buy parts or make parts that will last 20 years. They know which parts they need and different things like that. And they try for 20 years to have parts, but that doesn't mean that one won't run out faster than another either. So, and usually you will also lose a warranty. The warranty won't carry over if you buy a used machine.
Never.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
No.
I wouldn't expect it to though either.
Right.
Well, that's just not how it works. I had a lady who was looking at a used machine, and people that I get a lot of emails that say, I'm wondering if you could give me some advice. I saw this machine on Kijiji, and this is what they're asking for it. And so I usually start with, well, if you want to give me the serial number, I can tell you exactly what year it is. I can do that for you. And I had one lady who bought a used Lenny, and she had texted me. She was all excited that she'd bought this used machine off Kijiji and everything. And she said, and it still has its lifetime warranty. And I said, it doesn't. And she said, yeah, it does. And I said, it doesn't. have a warranty now. The warranty is only for the original owner, and that's not an APQS thing. That's an anywhere thing. That's a Janome, Juki, Handy Quilter, Innova, Gamma, all of them. The warranties are only for the original purchaser of a machine.
Yeah, they are non-transferable warranties for most people.
So,
and I mean,
people need to know that. I mean, somebody selling something can tell you anything, whether it's misguided, and like whoever sold that machine to her, maybe they thought, well, it has a lifetime warranty, but maybe they don't know that it's not transferable. I mean, I tell people that when they buy machines, when I'm selling to somebody, especially if they ask, or even if they don't ask, this is your lifetime warranty. It doesn't transfer beyond you. So you need to know that. So just think about those things too.
Oh, I would like to say, though, even though the warranty does not transfer over, what's really nice, I think, about some of the companies that we, like APQS for one thing, the service, you still have access to service. Even though you don't have a lifetime warranty, the machine has access to service.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. A machine can have 8 owners and they'd still get support from service. Yeah.
And it's the same service, no matter if you're the first owner or the 8th owner. APQS doesn't, to be quite frank, even care. They just want to make sure that you're taken care of. You're the owner at this point. You're their customer. So,
yeah.
Which I would say probably for little machines, that's not for more domestic machines. That not necessarily the case.
Well, yeah, because, the other side of it too is if someone moves into the area and they have an APQS machine, I'm going to help them no matter what. I mean, I'm not going to tell them you didn't buy it from me. I'm not going to help you. But I have had domestic machine dealers say that to me. So, because I used to move a lot, right? So, and you're just like, but I'm still your brand of machine customer, and I'm going to be here. And, I'm going to need my machine service. So I would be paying for that from you. Yeah.
Right. And we are not that store. I know for sure. We are not. We've actually given lessons to people who bought them elsewhere just because it's a good thing to do, customer service. So that's the other thing too, is to research what customer service you have in your area before you go down a particular brand, especially with domestic machines.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, with longarm machines, it's not as important to have a dealer locally because it's amazing what we can get you to do with a screwdriver. So yeah, it's not as important, but with a domestic machine, it is as important. There's no way that I would be trying to figure out and calibrate the embroidery module on my Janome. I'm going to be going to someone like Kathy and saying it's not working. Right.
Jake. No. Well, and what I mean by researching, you need to yourself look on Google to see what stores are in your area, because unfortunately this has happened in my area. Somebody said, hey, and it's actually one of my employees who just moved here. Hey, she went to this other store and said, hey, I have a Juki machine. Do you service Juki machines? And this other store said, no. And nobody in Nebraska does, which is not true. So you have to do your own research because you just don't know what somebody is thinking, I mean, I don't know. There are different mom and pop stores with different ways that people run their businesses, and everyone is fine. I'm not judging that store. It just is a little frustrating that that person got the wrong advice from somebody that I think I know that's in the industry. That's where I'm kind of frustrated.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I can send you to whatever manufacturer you need in Wake County, right?
Right.
If they've got a dealer here, I can send them to you. And so it just amazes me that anyone would say, oh, there isn't a XYZ dealer, because a simple Google, search is going to correct that. And if they're doing it as a sales tool, it's not a very good sales tool.
Right. Oh, sure. Right. And again, get to know your local quilt stores, because there you're going to have a better opportunity, I think, with help with whatever machine it is, with that brand. We send people we don't service the brand, and they still want us. We got to be careful, because if you can't necessarily have, we can't work on handy quilter because we're not a handy quilter certified tech, nor can somebody else work on things unless they're a certified tech. That's an important thing to find out. Do you have a certified tech on staff?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, for what brands?
Right.
Specifically? Because like, I only work on APQS machines. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the other thing to worry about, so my great example is I had a Tin Lizzie when I first started.
Mm-hmm.
There's no nothing anymore on Tin Lizzie. There's no nothing.
Nope.
So
that's parts for that machine now.
It's out of business. It was bought by somebody, I think.
Yeah. There might be some Facebook groups, but you're going to have to dive deep. And if you're fine with that, go for it. But remember, there could be some things that you run across. That's all, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And that's something else to look at is longevity of the company, right? How long has the company you're looking at been in business?
Mm-hmm.
What are their customers, current and past, saying about them, right? Mm-hmm. When you're going to buy a new, because if all you hear is bad things, like,
but you still have to do.
You still have to do your research.
You have to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slippery slope when you start asking people's opinions, because.
Oh, I'm not talking opinions. I'm actually talking about doing Google searches and seeing what people are.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Opinions, no, because, it's one of those situations where if you're asking your friend's opinion about a machine and your friend has no contact with any machines, they have no opinion, right? They just have, at that point, rumor, what other people have told them.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about going to quilt shows where all of them are typically there. Mm-hmm. That's a great opportunity to try. So as I'm getting ready for a quilt show this week, that's all in my brain.
They can be really good, although I will also say a lot of longarm dealers are choosing not to go to quilt shows at this point too. So if it's a longarm, you may need to go from store to store in your area to look at them. Mm-hmm. Because it takes a lot of real estate at a quilt show for me to have my long arms there. All three of us have done it before. So a 10 by 20 booth at anybody's show is going to be very expensive. So we tend, I've just kind of gotten away from it. I used to do 5 or 6 shows a year, and I'm down to none. And Tracy's the same way, because I've actually been in Canada helping Tracy with shows before. Yeah, it's a hard situation to be in. It's great that we can be there and everybody can test our machines, but if there's not enough customers out there buying machines, it's not good for any of the longarmers, companies that are there. So, yeah. Unless
you're bought a brand new trailer, 7 foot by 14, and you're bringing a whole bunch of garbage with you.
You're bringing your quilt store.
Yes, I'm bringing my whole quilt store.
Actually, I don't have that.
No, I know. You guys, there's pluses and minuses to that.
Where am I going? And I'm not going to speak for Tracy, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not going that way. So
I have no desire to own a quilt shop. I have my hands full with what I have now. Thanks.
Yeah.
But we're thinking outside the box. So my husband has built these shelves that are going to be fabulous. We're going to load the stuff up here, secure it in, roll it into the trailer, roll it out, and be ready for the show. That's my vision.
Open the doors and you're ready to go.
This is my vision that'll be done in an hour.
My long arms were on wheels, and my frames went in on wheels.
That's pretty cool.
Because, the actual long arms themselves were in boxes to protect them, but I rolled my frames in when I was doing it. I wasn't building frames at the shows. Now, legacy frames versus current frames, the rails were thinner, so they would fit through a standard door. Our new ones will not. They have to go through a double door.
Right.
I always did everything the hardest way possible. I dismantle everything, like right down to.
She does.
And get there and lug it all in. If there's a hard way to do something, I'm going to find it.
I think I'm pretty close behind you because it's usually, oh, the best is we went out to a show out in Kearney, which is 3 hours away from us. I forgot the rollers. I forgot bobbins. So I'm calling my kid. Thank goodness I have kids who can drive. I'm like, hey, you want to earn a couple $100? Can you bring me the pole? Because we just, first of all, it was right after COVID where no shows were happening. We just moved into the new store. So those 8-foot poles got buried. So, yeah, it was, we faked it well. That's all I have to say. The poles got out there. I used a Juki bobbin, which I never recommend, but I did it.
I truly used to love the show floor. I loved it.
I still love being on the show floor. And I love talking about long arms. I love being inside of a booth.
Yeah.
It just has to be cost effective for you to be able to do it.
Right.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's a good way to try out machines and see which machines you like.
Right.
Especially if you go to like a big show like Paducah or Houston where everyone's going to be there, right? Even if you're not thinking about buying a long arm at that moment, it's your pipe dream. Like spend the money a couple years before to go to one of the big shows and test drive them all.
Take your time.
And then you could eliminate anyone you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not looking for those used machines. So if you don't like, Mary Long Arms, you just don't look at Mary Long Arms, right? Mm-hmm. Now watch, somebody came out with Mary Long Arm last week and I don't know about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I also think we're on the uptick for shows again, which are going to change maybe a little bit too. So I think because they just had the Kansas City Regional Quilt Show this last weekend. And I heard over 10,000 people went through the doors, which is pretty phenomenal for the Midwest. So that's really pretty good. So I think we'll have to wait and see. I think I'm going to be on the little wait and see how things are going to see how many more shows we go to. Or I just bought a trailer and we're going to go to a lot.
I'm the only one that doesn't have a truck and a trailer. I'm just saying. I told Matt the other day I wanted one. He's like, you are not just copying your friends and getting a truck and a trailer.
I got my trailer in I opened my first shop. My first location was 2015. I opened that. And I think I did three quilt shows with rented U-Haul trailers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bought my own because it was the having to go pick it up.
Yes.
One time they gave me the wrong kind. I don't know. I'm going to sound so stupid, but some kind of axle. Axle was the wrong one for the vehicle I had at the time. And then one time it broke down and I had to deliver it to somewhere else, which made it cost way more money because I didn't deliver it back to the one because it broke down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then have to be back at this. And I thought, you know what? And at the time, they were much more reasonable, I think, than they are now. I found out during COVID that I could have sold my trailer for like 3 or 4 times what I paid for it because there was none of that stuff. And we talked about that earlier. Angela, Kathy, and I were talking before you came in about parts and things that there used to be lots of and you can't find them now, or shortages with everything. We were trying to figure out where everything went. Like, why did all that stuff stop? I can understand the factory shut down.
Oh, well, and the chip shortage makes sense because everybody working from home needed computers and printers and all these things that were supplied at their offices.
Right.
And then there was also a big, Bitcoin mining became really big because people were at home. So the computer shortage and all the chip shortages that then drove the chip shortages for all the other industries, that cascading failure makes complete sense. But like some of the other ones didn't make as much sense to me.
Well, and that
doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know. All I know is I went and bought my own trailer because then I could hook it up when I want, take it off when I want. I could leave it loaded and leave it loaded for 2 days if I had to. And it just sat in my driveway. So it's always available when I need or want it. And I use it for everything. Like A lot more than long arm machines have been in and out of that trailer over the last few years for sure.
Right.
See, and I don't have a tow vehicle, so buying a trailer was never a thing for me because I don't have a tow vehicle.
Right.
So I would have had to buy a tow vehicle to then be able to buy a trailer.
Right.
So I was renting big U-Hauls, like, the ones that have engines in them. And you want to talk about expensive.
Yeah.
It was brutally expensive. Even to get downtown, I have to rent.
You have to rent, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I don't do
shows.
So
the other thing to think about with the computer parts that we just talked about and the whole is some of the machines, especially we can talk about APQS machines, but I wouldn't be surprised that this affects all machines. Is some of our older machines, some of the parts cannot be replaced anymore. So it's good to know that knowledge before you go in and buy something.
And what I would say is mechanically parts can be replaced. So what most people would think of as parts, motors, needle bars, things like that can be replaced. It's actually boards. And I will tell you that I have people who have domestic sewing machines that have had problems with their domestic sewing machine.
Mm-hmm.
If the lights were on, she shut down her machine. We ate lunch at a big donation event. She went back, flipped her switch to start it back up again.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't boot back up, no lights. And it was not the fuse. I mean, we could see the light on the side of it that it was trying to boot. It just would not actually bring the computer for the stitches and stuff up. And she lost her motherboard on the machine. Nothing. And
is this an embroidery machine?
It was just a high end,
or like a regular domestic sewing machine.
Yeah, and I don't want to say the brand because it happens to all brands.
No, we don't
right?
need to know the brand. No.
It was not any of the brands that have been represented here.
Sure.
But I mean, so she went to go get it fixed, and I looked at her and said, "My gut is it's the motherboard, just by what it wasn't booting, just like a computer doesn't boot, right?" And she agreed. She's also a tech person. Took it in to get it fixed. They're like, "We don't sell those motherboards anymore."
Yeah, and it's not the fault of things just happened when all those computer parts just evaporated away. So
without getting super technical on the actual boards themselves and the way that they're manufactured change. So when you're looking at really old APQS machines, the boards were using something called digital technology, or not digital, they were using analog technology, to communicate on top of that board. And we've gone to digital technology, and then, third and fourth generation of digital technology at this point. So it's not like you can just take a chip from a new board and drop it onto an old board. That doesn't work. They can't talk to each other. And that's really the situation that we've gotten into. Plus, those older boards were probably hand soldered because they're old, right? So, and now everything is machine soldered and put together. If it's soldered at all, normally it's sandwiched and not soldered now. So, lots of differences in boards. So, I know all manufacturers want to be able to make you happy. They don't want to have to tell you, we can't help you.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But it's good to know all these things before you.
Yeah, it is. And ask the manufacturer, because it's in their best interest to be honest with you and say, I would stay, this year or newer if it was me personally, right? There's a reason they're telling you stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. And then if you do buy something, if it's a too good of a deal, be wary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All three of us are probably thinking about the same thing. That.
Yeah. If it's too good of a deal.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's always a reason. Something.
Yeah. Nobody is giving you an $11,000 piece of machinery for $2,000 without learning a catch.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then just safety wise, like if you're doing the whole Facebook Marketplace thing, just make sure you pick up in a safe area, public.
Yeah. Most police stations have actually a drop-off pickup place where you can meet in the parking lot of the police station.
That's pretty cool.
Really?
They do here. Yeah. Matter of fact, our police station would like you to do that. If you happen to live in North Carolina, we have them with the county and at the city level. They have like 4 or 5 parking place, lots that are just, exchange, just spaces that are for exchanges, so that you are not meeting somewhere that is not safe. I mean, if police officers are walking in and out of the building, you have some, sense of safety there.
And there's cameras probably too, so that's good.
There's cameras.
Yeah.
Don't meet anyone in a dark alley. We're just saying, if you look at it and go, this looks like a horror movie.
Probably is.
Isn't that kind of common sense though?
Yeah, but it's amazing what people do.
Right. Well, you want them in
selection.
Yeah, and we don't want you to be selected.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. So yeah, if anything, that's I mean, it's one of those situations. If something just doesn't seem right to you, trust your gut.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's, I think, the reason why we can get emotionally excited, or, we really want this thing, this long arm, this sewing machine, whatever. And that can probably take over some common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
But you're not going to pick up a long arm in a dark alley anyways. They're big.
No.
Right.
There's no meeting in a Tim Hortons truck. It's in a Tim Hortons parking lot for a long arm machine of any brand.
Of any brand. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good. And I know lots of people who I help with their machines that have bought their machines secondhand off Kijiji or Marketplace, and it's worked out great for them. Like,
yes,
it's, it's not always it's not a bad thing to buy a used machine. You just have to know that there are differences, beside being used or new. There are differences in that purchase, right?
Yeah.
It can also be a great way, buying a used machine, if you get it from, if you get a good one, to kind of dip your toe if you're not sure of whether or not it's something you really want to do. If you can get your hands on a good used machine, it can, you can kind of test the waters and drive it for a few years, or a year, or 6 months, or I don't know, a week, or 8 years, or 10 years. And it just gets you in the water without having to go to the expense of a brand new one.
Well, and another thing to do is to talk to a dealer for that manufacturer, or the manufacturer directly, and say, do you take trade-ins on your machines? Right? A lot of dealers or manufacturers will take trade-in of the same brand.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that will take anything, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of them will take it of the same brand. So, and then you have no, if it's not working out well, you just trade the machine in.
So with that, since we are a Janome and Juki store, people ask if we take in trade-ins all the time. And again, we are brutally honest and all about our customers, and we will tell them. So if you want us to take it in, we will take it for you, but we're going to give you half the price of what you can get on Marketplace, because we have to clean it. We have to, find a buyer for it. There's all of that work that's involved for us.
Right.
If you really want to get more money out of it, you will need to sell it on Facebook Marketplace yourself. But if you don't want that hassle, and that hassle is what is more painful to you, sure, we're going to help you. Right. So that's a thing to think about.
Anybody who contacts me about trading in a machine head, I tell them the same thing. Put it up on Kijiji, put it up on Marketplace. If you need me to help you with the ad, or, if I know the history of the machine, I'm a great resource. If I don't know the machine, then I can just give you some points, but you're always going to get more money for it if you sell it privately than if you trade it in. And that's of anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I remember with that Equinox I had it for 2 years. And I took it to see what I thought at the time that I would really love a truck. I should have just got a truck in the first place. This is back in like 2016 or 15 or whatever. And they were going to give me $6,500. What? It's 2 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So, but I killed it anyway. Blew the timing chain because equinoxes don't like to pull 10 by 14 foot trailers for very long before they die. So, lesson learned.
We bought an Equinox knowing that I would hand it off to my 16-year-old girls to probably kill and die. So that's where we're at. The girls are driving it. Every day it comes home with some different dents on it. No.
Mine's still in the driveway from when I got it trailered home or CAA'd home from when it actually died. Should never have pulled a trailer. Angela, when she came for Quilt Canada, do you remember me getting stopped by that very nice police officer?
He was a very nice police officer. He really was a very nice police officer. Bless his heart.
He was so kind. It could have gone so wrong.
It really could have.
I think my emotional breakdown.
Well, yeah, we were both freaking out.
It was not in one iota fake, phony. I was truly losing my mind.
Well, it didn't help that I don't even know how it ended up on the floor, but we were looking for her title.
My driver's license and insurance. He asked me for that.
Yeah. Couldn't find. And then I looked down and I was like, there's paper on the floor. And I was like, sir, can I check and see what's on the floor? It's like, there's something at my feet. And he's like, yes. I'm like,
that wasn't it. No, we drove away, remember?
That's right. And then we found it later. Yeah.
She found it. We're driving. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Angela goes, she looks down, she says, what's that? And it was, I used to keep my driver's license and insurance in this little tiny, like plasticky kind of folder thing that the insurance companies give you, like it's just like this little tiny thing.
Yeah.
The same color as the floor mat. So, I mean,
I picked it up and was like, is this what you
I jumped out of the car. I was rifling through bags with it. And he's like, ma'am, I need you to go to the other side of the car. Like, this is not cool. I'm on the side of the highway freaking out because I couldn't find my stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, great. I'm going to go to jail. I can't have it. He's going to give me this great big ticket and blah, 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 blah. My brain just goes into overdrive. And of course, Angela's there. And
he just gave you a warning. I mean, he was wonderful.
All he did was, he did. He just said,
maybe a
slow
talking
down
to
because
about the
this
tracer.
car has to stop that big trailer.
Yeah. Right. And he said for as big as your trailer is, you probably needed another set of brakes on it.
Yeah, brakes on the trailer or something. Anyways, he was a really, really nice young man.
He was concerned.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
it was refreshing too, because it was all about, first of all, making her stop crying. And then after that happened,
I am such a loser. I swear. I do
the same thing though.
There was no need for me to panic like that. I started to panic when I couldn't find any of my identification. That's when I started to panic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he was very nice, and we made it to Ottawa just fine.
Tracy and I have quite a few stories about doing some really crazy things together that were not supposed to be crazy when we started. I mean, I would like to see what happens if we plan something crazy at some point, Tracy, because just normal days do not end up the way they're supposed to with us.
No.
We have a good time though.
That whole Ottawa trip was awesome. Even getting stopped and all that happened, and then giving the machine to the Quilts of Valor and just
and getting to know Jessie, and then it was an emotional. I mean, let's put it this way: we both cried at some point that weekend.
That weekend also had some
tragedy for me.
Yeah,
my father-in-law died that weekend, so
it was all. And I tried to get her to go home.
By the time I would have gotten home. We were leaving 2 days after that. So, I wasn't the person that needed to be there to take care of stuff. I needed to make sure you got home okay.
Well,
in my world,
it was just a cluster of everything. That whole week was but it was good.
Post the picture of us after we moved out that day. It was not just raining. It was not.
Oh, that's right. It was pouring.
Gosh. We were soaked all the way through to our underwear.
Trying to load
everything in the trailer was soaked.
And this is what I do shows.
Pouring. And they're pulling the booth down around me, and I was writing an order up. Do you remember that? You and Jessie were running stuff out, and I'm trying to sell a machine.
Yep.
Like,
I
because
remember we got back to the shop, left it all in the trailer for that night, and then the next day we took all the soggy stuff, unloaded. And that used to be a thing for me with shows. Every unload day or load up day, it either rained as I was loading the trailer or rained as I was unloading. Like there was every stinking time.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, if you're ever going to do shows, ask them if where you're going to unload is covered or not. It sounds like a stupid question. Just know it in advance because you may need to actually take a rain gear with you.
Yep.
Who knew?
Or cover your machines in plastic bags to get them from the building to the trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do what we got to do. And this apparently is why you don't do shows anymore.
No, I wish it was, but it's just part of it.
Yeah. No, I know. That's good.
Actually, it was a good trip with everything that went on. It was still a good trip.
That
Yeah.
Ottawa trip was a great trip. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
it
good.
was.
It was really good. Lots of fun.
Good.
Yep.
Well, I can't think
Anyway.
of anything else to think about when you buy a new machine.
A used machine?
Yeah, a used machine. Sorry,
Yeah.
a new machine. A new machine to you. A new
Test
to
it.
you.
Test it, see it run, see it work. Ask about the history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from used machines just because they're used, because lots of them can be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I will tell you. I think the other thing to look at is to make sure there was not a lot of MacGyvers done on your machine.
Oh, yeah.
That's an important thing.
Like, Google what the machine's supposed to look like.
Yes.
So if you're buying a machine, Google and see what that machine's supposed to look like. If you go in and there's like parts that they can't tell you what they work for and they don't look like original machine manufacturer parts, right?
Mm.
That may not be the machine to buy.
We had one of those walk through our door, an old APQS machine that was on a gamma table.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure. But it had a big old green button on the top because they McGarved the start. Now it was an oldie, but still we were like, somebody else got into the electronics, somebody else did something with it, and we actually called the APQS to say, I don't even think this is safe for us to plug in to try to turn on because you don't know if everything's grounded correctly.
That's right.
So we had to give it back and say, so sorry. So
Is that the easy button? They put an easy button on the top. I think those are battery operated.
Yeah.
No, it was
connected by wires.
Yeah.
This was we actually sent it to it was an interesting thing. Oh, and also see if machines were in floods or fires or anything like that, because then you're going to talk about some other issues. Now it could work for a little while, but
you may not know that either. Like,
right.
Yeah.
If you can ask the history.
And I've worked on 2 machines that were in connexes that flooded coming in from Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot you can do to fix those machines, at least with APQS machines. So it may or may not be something to worry about. If you pick up the machine and water runs out of it, that's an entirely another situation. But just like salt,
that would be a hard no.
That would be a hard no. Saltwater corrosion, especially if you're buying something that's coming out of an island type situation where they have the doors wide open all the time, may not be a huge thing.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, an example is we had a machine here that we first just opened up the shop. Jake hadn't even been back to paint training. And in walks this gentleman, and the man is amazing. And we had massive flooding here in Nebraska, and he tied a rope around his waist to go down and get his wife's machines. So he's tied by waist because it's just flooding in. And he grabs this machine, and he has a cane. He grabs this machine and hauls it up. And then he goes, hey, can you look at it? And we're like, well, sure. But there wasn't much we could do. Oil it, because it was an oldie but goodie, but she ran for a couple more years after that. So yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Right. Yes, we will help you as much as we can help you. To a certain point, I can't go against nature.
Yeah.
So It was interesting. So there's history behind all of these machines, and you can tell when you talk to somebody. If you talk to somebody who loves the machine and is, there's this love of why I love the Tin Lizzie. I just wanted to upgrade. That's probably a good thing, potentially.
Mhm.
Right?
Well, people sell for all kinds of reasons. They either don't do it anymore. Like you said earlier, somebody passed away. They want something larger. They want something bigger. They maybe want a computer, and what they have doesn't have a computer. So they want something that they can put a computer on, or
If
they've
you're-
lost interest.
Yeah, if you're looking at really old machines like 2008 and older, ask if there's a stitch regulator.
Oh, yes. There you go. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Why did that all of a sudden?
All those things.
If you're especially if you're looking at long arms, because a lot of long arms before 2008 were not stitch regulated, or you had to pay more for a stitch regulator. So people have been trading those long arms in to get stitch regulation at this point.
Which, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid of it. I mean, they've been used for this long, so just know what you're getting, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I had somebody yesterday call me that is my customer who has a 2022 machine and ask if stitch regulation could be put on it.
It's okay.
And I was like, is the blue light glowing on your machine? And she said, yes. It's like, you're in stitch regulated mode. Oh, like she only uses stitch regulated mode. She didn't know she could put it in manual mode. And
that's called information overload on the brain.
Yeah, beginner's class has been a long time. Let's refresh that, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
But that's adorable.
Yeah, and I didn't even know how to react. I was just sitting there going, okay, yeah.
Well, sometimes we make things, again, we can go back to the podcast where we talk about our maintenance and we make it harder than what it really is. And Tracy just said that she makes everything harder. I'm the same way. I jump to the conclusion of like, oh my gosh, if I have a little scratch on my hand, I must have like cancer to the 12th degree. I got to walk myself back kind of thing. Same with my maintenance. I got to walk myself back because I jump off to the wrong conclusion.
So things I've learned about my other friend today. She is not allowed to look at WebMD. She is not allowed to look
yes.
Yes.
I don't mess with that stuff, man. Nope. My imagination's quite active enough without extra stuff being popped in there.
Yes. Well, that's partly my journey. So I had a high blood count. Said I was cancer free, went back again, and then they said, oh, never mind. So, kind of thing. So I had a little bit of a waffle. So that's where I tend to have to walk back, which is fine. It's all good. But, just everybody's journey is different. Know that there's people out there to help you with your machine. You need to maybe sometimes find them if you're in a small city.
And sometimes it can be someone you call or someone on the internet, or it doesn't have to be someone local.
Right. See that's it. Just find somebody. I was with my Tin Lizzie. There was a lady, she has now since passed, but man, she was phenomenal. And that group was amazing. So there's stuff out there. No.
Awesome.
Right. Well, I think with that, we could probably wrap it up before we go down to another rabbit hole, because we're pretty good at rabbit holes. They're fun. I hope everybody loves them. Huh?
I said backing up out of them is the harder part.
Right.
Especially with a trailer. Especially.
Hey, I'm good at backing up trailers.
Him too. I used to be the person that backed in the boats. So yeah.
Well,
Perfect.
I'm going to learn in the back parking lot. So it's going to be great.
You'll learn.
Let's learn before the trailer's full.
I know. Well, actually, I think it's easier with it full, actually. It rides so much different with it's empty than full.
It should actually back up a little easier full than it does empty.
Yeah, you're fine. It's good. Well, with that, I look forward to seeing you ladies again. This is always wonderful. A highlight in my day for sure. Shall we ask if you could please subscribe and share and enjoy with your friends? Maybe do a watch party, do some fun things like that. Have a good time. Yeah, comment. That would be fabulous if you could get some comments.
I'd like to hear some stories.
Yeah.
if you've bought something used and you've had it for a bunch of years and you love it still, let us know.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or you've passed on the love to somebody else who's just learning, because sometimes that's just a great thing too. Passing on the love to somebody else who's just learning and just starting out.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, ladies.
Have an awesome rest of your day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.